Running Back Nation, what is good? Sixers sickos, what is good? Couple things we got to talk about, okay? A former Sixers player had some very negative things to say about Paul George and the combination of Paul George and Joel Embiid. I want to react to that and talk about this player that is saying this and just give my opinion on it. Also, Charles Barkley had some comments on Joel Embiid on Paul George's podcast. And there is a little bit of a rumor, a distant rumor, about a power forward who could possibly return to Philadelphia. Thank you for being here. Give me 1 million likes on the video. This is brought to you by BETUS.
BETUS, America's favorite sportsbook and casino. Live betting and racebook. We're celebrating 30 years with a historic offer. A 125% sign-up bonus on your first 3 deposits. Plus 10% gambler's insurance. Get started today. BETUS, where the game begins.
We're going to go over to the BETUS website right here and just show you some more cool things that are on here. Under NBA season awards, we're going to look at most valuable player. Who do you think is at the top of these lists here? Joel Embiid is a plus 700. SGA, Giannis, Nikola Jokic, Luka Doncic, Anthony Edwards. You know who I'm going to bet on for most valuable player this upcoming season? Because I think Joel Embiid is going to take a little bit of he's going to let his foot off the gas a little bit as far as points per game and things like that, because he's going to play more of a role alongside other players versus being the dominant leader. That's what I think. All right, so I'm going Anthony Edwards at a plus 1,200. What does $20 get us? That'll win us $240 when inevitably Anthony Edwards wins the MVP, because I've never been wrong about anything. You can get 125% deposit bonus on your first 3 deposits up to $2,000 and 10% gambler's insurance on BETUS by using the link in my description. Thank you to BETUS for sponsoring the channel. Now, let's talk about it, okay? The player talking is Evan Turner. All right. Former number 2 overall pick by your beloved Philadelphia 76ers. And absolute bust. All right. And look, I'm not claiming YouTube. I'm not claiming podcasting. I'm not annoyed that other people have podcasts. Honestly, NBA players having podcasts is giving me content all summer long. So I actually appreciate it. And anytime an NBA player says something ridiculous that I get to react to, I appreciate it also. But here's the thing. Having a podcast when you were one of the biggest busts in franchise history kind of discredits or overshadows your playing career. Disappointing playing career overshadows basically anything you're going to say. You understand what I'm saying? If you were a major bust, it's going to be difficult for you to say anything about anybody without everybody coming at you for what your career did, right? If I talk shit on Tobias Harris, nobody cares because I'm not an NBA player and I never was one. So it doesn't matter. I'm just a guy watching the game giving my opinion. But if I was an NBA player who was more of a fraud than Tobias Harris and had a worse career, anytime I talk shit on Tobias Harris, everybody would say, weren't you more of a scrub? You know what I'm saying? So Evan Turner having a podcast is already challenging. It's already challenging for him to say anything about anyone. Okay? But he's also very negative and cocky and condescending for some reason. It's actually pretty mind-blowing the way that he's talking about this. Here he is talking about Paul George and the Sixers.
PG has a history of not showing up. And I never met a human that will let a media rumor drive his energy or personality. Like, somebody's like, I heard he going to Philly. And that nigga's like, you know what? I'm going to Philly, G. Do you know how soft that team going to be if him and Embiid go together? It'll probably be one of the most disappointing, unbelievable, talented. It'll probably be the most skilled duo ever since Kobe and Shaq. That's an understatement. Embiid will be hurt and PG going to be Paul, though.
Bro, are you actually kidding me? To say I've never met a human that would let media narratives drive his decisions. So he's not even just analyzing basketball. He's taking personal shots at Paul George. Who are you, bro? Who are you, bro? Evan, look at me. I know you aspire to be a big-time YouTuber because your NBA career didn't work out. The fact that Run It Back Philly does more views than your YouTube channel and you are a known former NBA player is actually sad for you already. So I'm helping you, first of all. Okay? Now look at me. You were a scrub. You were an absolute scrub. A bust. One of the biggest busts in Sixers franchise history. You were the number 2 overall pick behind John Wall. You only got there because of a lucky shot in the NCAA tournament for Ohio State. Your entire career was disappointing. You can be an analyst and analyze basketball without sounding like a dumbass. All right? There's some advice for you. That's number 1. Number 2, who else was in the 2010 NBA draft? 7 picks after you. Paul George was. You and Paul George were in the same draft. Paul George is still in the NBA, averaging 23 points per game, and was just the highest catch-and-shoot three-point shooter last season at 45%. Your single best season in the NBA, you averaged 15.4 points per game. You're out of the league. Talking about somebody who's still in the league, who was in the same draft as you, who's still averaging 23 points per game. This is absolute blasphemy, and you should be ashamed of yourself.
Showing up. And I never met a human that will let a media rumor drive his energy or personality. Like, somebody's like, I heard he going to Philly. And that nigga's like, you know what? I'm going to Philly, G. Do you know how soft that team gonna be if him?
You know how soft that team gonna be.
You know how soft that team gonna be if him and Embiid go together? It'll probably be one of the most disappointing, unbelievable talent.
You were one of the most disappointing.
It'll probably be the most skilled duo ever since Kobe and Shaq. That's an understatement. Embiid to be hurt and PG gonna be Paul though.
Absolutely mind-blowingly disconnected from reality. But thank you for the content to react to. Let's move on because nobody really cares about Evan Turner, and who the fuck is waking up in the morning saying, I gotta go listen to the Evan Turner podcast. Fucking bum. Also this, Charles Barkley was on Paul George's podcast, and he said some things about Joel Embiid not being in shape, and I would like to think it's coming from a good place because Charles Barkley had problems throughout his career staying in shape. Actually, there's a story where he was overweight coming out of college and the Sixers almost didn't draft him, and he gained more weight on purpose because he didn't want the Sixers to draft him, but they drafted him anyway. So I would like to think that Charles Barkley is probably saying this to give Joel Embiid some advice, but we'll see. Let's listen.
They're going for it. Y'all got a nice little window. Now, I hope this is a wake-up for Joel, this Olympic experience. He has not played well, and I'm hoping he's like, yo, man, I got to get in better shape. Because me personally, I think that's one of the reasons he's always injured. I don't think he's in good enough shape. But I think the way he's...
I want to argue that point right there. You could argue that he's always injured because he's too heavy, but he was 245 in college and broke his foot and then broke it again. So actually the worst injury he ever had that kept him out of basketball for 2 entire years, he was in the best shape of his life. So I think Joel Embiid just gets injured. I don't think it has to do with his weight.
Play, which is not well during the Olympics, should be a wake-up call for him. Like, you know what? Yeah. I got to get in better shape. I got to get healthy because if we don't win the championship or go deep in the playoffs, it's going to be because of me. And, he keeps getting hurt. And like I said, he got to take some responsibility for that. Bringing in you, Maxie's stud, bringing in all those other guys. If Joel don't do his thing, the Sixers are not going to win. And like I said, he has not played well at his Olympic games at all. And I'm hoping somebody.
This had to be recorded before he played Puerto Rico, where he led all starters in points.
Can get to him and say, yo, man, you need to get in better shape, because the way you play in the NBA, when we just going up and down the court, pounding inside, number one, you can't win like that consistently in the NBA today. But also,
I think you can. I don't think there's been a center. That point that he's saying right there, where you can't win by pounding the ball inside in today's game, because the last time a team won by pounding the ball inside was the Lakers with Shaquille O'Neal. But what if it's just the fact that there hasn't been as dominant a center since Shaquille O'Neal until Joel Embiid? So maybe there just hasn't been good enough centers between Joel Embiid and Shaquille O'Neal. You know what I'm saying? I think if they're good enough, if you're good enough, if you're on the level of Shaq, Hakeem Olajuwon, etc., you can win by giving the ball to your center. But anyway,
you got to be a little bit embarrassed the way you played in the Olympics.
I don't think you have to be embarrassed with the way you played in the Olympics. I think it's a different game. You're playing with 15 superstars. You're trying to fit in. You're trying to find your role on the team. It's a totally different system and style of play than you're used to playing. And Joel Embiid never plays basketball in July. So he's playing basketball in a month where he never plays basketball. Trying to find the way that he fits into a team that's not entirely centered around him for the first time in his career. And we've seen it now. His whole career, it takes him the first 2 months of the season to really get in that tip-top shape. And then he starts cooking. So what are you saying, Charles? Now that I think about it. Because every season, by the time December rolls around, Joel Embiid is dropping 40 points in 3 quarters and sitting the fourth against basically every team for 2 months straight and smoking the MVP ladder. So he doesn't look in shape right now in the Olympics. You can't say that he never looks in shape. How's he leading the league in scoring every year? How did he win you MVP 2 seasons ago? How was he absolutely blowing away the MVP race again this past season until he got hurt? He gets in shape. It just takes him a month and a half to start the season, and I don't expect him to be in that shape in the fucking middle of July. I actually disagree with everything Charles Barkley said in this clip. And that's my take on it. You guys give me your opinion on that. Give me your opinion on the Evan Turner thing. And last but not least, our boy at Sixer Daily, I believe this is Jake Moreno. I think he changed his handle to Sixer Daily. But he said, if PJ Tucker reaches a buyout agreement with the Clippers, I personally would expect him to return to the Sixers. Pure speculation, though. No. Absolutely not. And then he said, don't remember how it exactly went, but there was some moment from Maury's episode on Rights to Ricky Sanchez pod where they hinted at a possibility. Also, the need at power forward, and he loves Philly still. He's always here. Sixers do maybe have a need at power forward. That need at power forward is 0% met by PJ Tucker at this point in his career. This guy couldn't get a minute on the Clippers team. He's absolutely 1,000% washed. He's done. He needs to retire. The Sixers should not bring him back and try to play him at power forward. That's an absolutely ridiculous thing to say. Jake, I love you, but I totally disagree with that. Keep PJ Tucker as far away from this team as possible. Actually, Nurse wouldn't even play him. That was just a Doc Rivers thing. But no real point in discussing that. My take is absolutely hell to the fuck no when it comes to PJ Tucker at 39 years old now or whatever. No thanks. I'll take Adem Bona over PJ Tucker. You know what I'm saying? That's all I got. I love you guys, and I'll see you soon. Thank you to BetUS for sponsoring the channel. Peace.